Welcome, everybody. It's Smiles here. Um, it's been a while, and I wanted to say thank you guys for the support. Thanking you new subscribers for coming in and enjoying the content. For some of the old ones, for continuing to listen to my stuff. Um, and in this moment, I have a bit of great news. So, due to some schedule changes on my part at work, um, it looks like Mondays and Tuesdays I will be able to upload properly and slightly efficiently. Um, so you will most likely get most reading or listening content on Mondays and Tuesdays. And Sunday nights to the rest of the week, basically, um, I can add in more gaming content. So please, by all means, like, share, subscribe, um, and let everyone know who loves to listen to some books on the side and enjoys video games at the same time. Um, I thank you, because I wouldn't be here without you guys and your continuing support, and I really, really do appreciate it. So, as a treat here, I've pulled up a book that I've been wanting to read and recorded a couple of chapters of some other stuff that I'm going to be uploading um, by the time this is put up on Monday. So, um, again, thank you, and I hope you enjoy. To walk on four legs breaks the law, and that's all right with me. An uncivilized introduction by John Skip. This is a book of astounding stories. That's really all you need to know. But since the subject is, of course, the whole werewolf shapeshifter situation we're in, what with everybody and his cousin transforming willy-nilly whether the full moon is up or not, it probably behooves me to set the mood, if not spill the beans entirely. Secrets are part of the thrill of this ride, after all. Secrets and surprises of which there will be many. I sincerely guarantee you. Please, feel free to slip into something a little more comfortable while we're at it. Shed your skin or grow a new one. Around these parts and within these pages, it's okay to let it all hang out. It's also okay to be afraid. In fact, you'd have to be crazy not to. It's a scary ass world out there. But this is how we learn. In the great pantheon of miracles and monsterdom, werewolves and other shapeshiftery types hold a special fascination, as shown by their enduring popularity, from ancient folklore and fairy tale to modern fantasy, paranormal romance, science fiction, horror, magical realism, black comic satire, and the freakiest bizarro hinterlands known to man or beast. Because they are both of us, and something profoundly other, something primal, just waiting to erupt and disrupt us from within. There's an amazing complexity and complicity in their stories that you don't get much of anywhere else. Were creatures are largely monsters of impulse and instinct. They are us, forced by forces beyond our control to do the things we either fear we might or wish we could, depending on how crazy and or grounded we are at the time. As such, they specifically pinpoint the schism between our natural selves and our socialized selves, who we'd like to think we are, and what we suspect we might be. In the process of probing that schism and assembling this book, I've been thinking a lot about animals. The ones we're okay with. the ones we are not, the ones that we're friends with, the ones that we eat, and the ones that would more than happily devour us instead, given half a chance. In a lot in an awful lot of ways, civilization has evolved specifically to narrow the odds on getting eaten alive by any other species. It certainly started out that way. Lonely, too smart, all but hairless hominids, huddling together in that terrifying dark and desperately dreaming of fire, of spear, of safety from the bottomless tyranny of terror, dreaming our way out of the nightmare that God had seemingly abandoned us inside, a monstrous world of tooth and claw in which we were more often than not the prey. You gotta know, this is where our deepest cellular memories of horror are rooted, in the creatures that shredded our earliest ancestors. The sights and sounds and spells of them are forever etched upon our DNA. That ancestral dread resonates through us and still in both our bodies and in the stories we tell and have always told to ourselves and each other. Depending on where we lived, our natural predators were our monsters. In the jungle, you had your panthers and pythons, and the veldt lions reigned. Bears ruled the tundra. If you lived on the water, it could be sharks or piranha. In the forest, it was the wolf that you feared most. But because we're such clever animals, we learned from the creatures that surrounded us, modeled useful behaviors, came to recognize the unique advantages presented by our thumbs and brains, differentiated ourselves from all the other life forms shoved at us versus them wedged in place. But we always knew that we were animals too. Vibrantly animal, disgustingly animal. This was the beginning of the schism and the law. As time went on, and we pulled our act together, humanity proceeded to seize the reins. Fire was a neat trick. Electricity worked too. Horticulture, agriculture, science, eventually leading to a harnessing of all our natural resources, domestication of the previously random and wild. These are the things in which we, as a species, have utterly excelled. And the weapons. Oh, the weapons. We've gotten really good at that. Once we figured out how to take down creatures far larger and more physically imposing than ourselves, once the ruthless elimination of our natural predators commenced in earnest, the world became our little oyster, a glistening thing that we ripped from a shell, deliciously going down with little to no resistance. At this point, on this earth, humanity is the uncontested champ. We're number one. The number one predator. Western civilization, in particular, has long and largely defined itself as a war on nature's dominance, if not on nature itself. And who can argue with success? So these days, we're only allowed to eat one another, and only in a figurative sense. We do it through business, we do it through family, we do it through government, through armies, through crime. We do it through love, that great crime of passion. We abstract it as much as we possibly can. But if we do it straight up, if we actually tear one another limb from limb and feast on the entrails, there's a word for that. Monster. The good news, here in the 21st century, is that it's pretty much a dog-eat-dog food world. The bulk of us turned out to be fairly well behaved, or at least the veneer down pat. Violence is news because it bursts the normative bubble, rips a hole in the social fabric that we cover our nakedness. So, unless you're a soldier in mid-conflagration, or an insurgent with a bomb strapped to your back, a serial killer in full psychotic spree, a renegade cop on their winning take-all trail, or one of the weird things displayed proudly within the pages of this book, I'd say the odds are good that you probably didn't kill nearly half the people you met today. That math speaks pretty well for itself. Hooray for society. But civilization is a mighty long crawl through the tangled roots of history and their own conflicted nature. It's not a coincidence that we call our cities jungles, and also refer to those who break the rules in monstrous ways as animals. And this, my friends, is the heart of the where things allure. The animal within us, the so-called monster within us that harkens back to our core in oh so many beautiful and terrifying ways. Because that's the thing. It's not all bad. Yes, for some it's a curse, but for others it's total liberation. There's a genuine longing that many of us feel to reconnect with the nature our technocracy has spurned. To dive deep into our senses, shut down the backseat driver of our endlessly yammering rational minds, and just for God's sakes, be. It's a thing that makes us envy our pets. Watch in awestruck silence as a hawk soars overhead. It's also the secret behind our love of sports, of watching two boxers beat each other to a pulp. At root, it's a hunger for simplicity, for connectedness, a pure sense of self-society be damned. And therein lies the blood-red schism at the core of our malices. And maybe, just maybe, the key to our transcendence. It's a scary-ass world out here. But this is how we learn. We'll further discuss the roots of all this, and catalog some of the seminal works in the nifty yet informative appendices you'll find at the back of the book. And I'll be sprinkling context and observations throughout the text that follows. But the heart of this book and its sprawling soul is contained in the 30-odd stories that follow. Astounding stories that wrestle with both playfully and savagely with the shape-shifting subject at hand. This is a full-spectrum showcase of excellent strangeness, drawing on the full strengths of every type of imaginative literature at play in the culture today. There are heartbreakers here, and genuine shockers. There are sweet-hearted charmers and the raucous laugh-out-loud subversions, inarguable art and unapologetic entertainment. Roughly half of them are original to this collection, here blowing minds for the very first time. The rest are split between time-honored classics and little-known wonders you may have missed. Guaranteed, there is something here to offend and delight every reader, sometimes in the course of a single sentence. What they all have in common is a penetrating glimpse of the animal we are, the jungle we inhabit, and the civilized species we'd like to hope we have become. Which is why I so thoroughly love this book, jam-packed as it is with brilliant writers, both old and new. All of them vividly tackling the mysteries of nature and identity, society, and self. And mutating our perceptions like a son of a bitch in the process. This is how we learn to become ourselves at last. Enjoy your transformation. This was an uncivilized introduction by John Skip for Werewolves and Shapeshifters, Encounters with the Beast Within.